it would be a disservice if I, who actually resembles this beautiful woman, any black woman, us in this space, okay? This beautiful woman who was no longer with us, Lauren Smith Fields, who was on a Bumble date earlier this year, was found dead in her, in her apartment. And it's for me, this story, it hurts me because I feel like the way this story was handled wasn't good. And when I say the story, the way this case was handled wasn't good. Mm-hmm. So, again, her name is Lauren Smith Fields. She was 23 years old. She was with a white man on a Bumble date. And I know a lot of people were trying to say it was an older white man. Remember, we didn't have much information. If you first heard about this story, it was saying that she was with an older white man, as if he was some old man that she met on Bumble, like an old man, almost like how women are dating men for money kind of thing. And it really wasn't that. This man's name is Matthew LaFountain. Well, let me not say it in that language. Matthew LaFountain, who is 37 years old. She's 23, and 37 is older, but this is not much older. 37 is an age of somebody you may meet. She's 23. Now, people were saying that, online she may have been dating that man to get money and it went wrong, those kind of things. And since, this case has been out, the girl's family, she filed a lawsuit against the Bridgeport police, who they say basically did the investigation incorrectly. In the police report, according to People, Smith Fields and LaFountain were drinking tequila at her apartment when she became ill and vomited. Listen to this. The pair then reportedly continued to drink. Smith Fields then got a text and stepped outside. Smith Fields is the younger woman. She stepped outside of the apartment unit to get something from her brother. When she returned, Smith Fields reportedly went to the bathroom for several minutes. The police report added that LaFountain later told officers that he thought it was odd, but didn't feel it was his place to say anything as he didn't know her that well, but he's in her home. LaFountain contacted the police the next morning when he discovered blood coming out of Smith Fields' right nostril and noticed she wasn't breathing. And we can definitely take a look at more information on this case.
An update now on a story the News 4i team first told us about. We've learned the death of Lauren Smith Fields has been ruled an accident. This is according to the medical examiner in Connecticut, who says she died due to acute intoxication from the combined effects of fentanyl, other prescription drugs, and alcohol. Her family has told News 4's Sarah Wallace that the report just brings up more questions, since they say Smith Fields was healthy and had no history of drug use. Their attorney says she died after a date with an older man she met on the dating app Bumble. And now her family plans to sue Bridgeport for negligence, claiming key evidence that could have helped determine what happened wasn't submitted to the state lab. The mayor of Bridgeport is promising an internal investigation.
When the story first came out, and when I say like she looks like me, I mean that not in just the physical way, but she could be any of us black girls who are going on this date or going on these apps to find dates. When our black girls are missing, here's what's problematic. When our black girls are missing, there is nothing like in comparison to Gabrielle Petito. Remember that story not too long ago? Right. And it was all over major news networks. There was a search team immediately out there looking for her. Also a social media a person. Smith Fields is a YouTuber. A black YouTuber. And, a lot of people came to her defense saying, we need to go find her. But police officers didn't see it that way. Initially, when the story came out, police officers said he seemed like a good guy and moved on. Waited until the report came out of how she died, and they said there was heavy drugs in her system, fentanyl, different drugs in her system. And
talk about fentanyl.
Here's the problem for me. If she has no history of drug usage, he's with her overnight, and so there is drugs that have been done at some point. Who knows if the drugs could have been in her drink, if she could have been poisoned with drugs, if he waited till she was under the influence to influence her more in getting drugs. It could have been anything, but he waited until the next morning, meaning that he stayed there with her.
That's right.
He stayed there with her.
That's right.
And if the
I'm sure he did more than stay, Rebecca. I'm sure
Exactly.
he did more than stay.
Exactly. And if the police officer, and if she was under the influence and not okay, and he did whatever with her, lets me know that's rape.
Did they, Rebecca, can I jump in there? Because did they investigate, did they search her for sexual assault or sexual intercourse? And did they have a timing for the time of death? Because if we know the time of death and there was sexual intercourse, then they could really triangulate what this man was up to while she was dying.
They waited
That's
so
why there's a
long.
lawsuit.
They waited so long, and when the investigation happened, it was just enough. They went to him, asked him a few questions. They said he seemed like a good guy, and they moved on. He seemed like a good guy because he was white. She seemed like the problem because she is black, and that is my issue. But when Gabrielle Petito, the 20-something white woman who was missing, the whole world went crazy, right? Even us, I said that she needs to be found, but there are other women that we need to find as well. And here is a story that I really want to really hone in on and focus on. This young woman has lost her life, and the first thing that came out was that she was with a sugar daddy. She done found a sugar daddy, whatever the case may be. Now, when we look at the ages, yes, he is older than her, but 37 is not an old man. 37 is not an old man. This is literally, I went on a date the other day, not the other day, y'all, but not too long ago with a man from the app. I had to pray. I had to really get my mind right. But this is the ways that we're dating nowadays. So, to me, these are excuses that people can put on, especially black people, so they can move on with the story. But we cannot fall in line with that. If we have to talk about this story every 3 days on here, every day, then we're going to do so. Because the same pressure that was put to find Gabrielle Petito's body, to find out what happened to her, to find the pieces, everything, we need that same thing to happen here. In this case, I do not think that it was like she just magically died from being on drugs. She was murdered. We have to use that word. She was murdered.
Here's a couple other things, y'all. Fentanyl is a problem. A young sister who has no history of drug use has absolutely nothing. There's no pathway for her to have accidentally overdosed from fentanyl if she is not a drug user. If she's, here's the other thing. I don't honestly care if that was her sugar daddy.
I don't care either.
Right. Does that give him an excuse to potentially have drugged her? Right? Because where does she get black folks ain't going out here and just purchasing fentanyl. They're lacing our drugs with it. And if she's not a person who utilizes drugs of any kind, then where did the fentanyl come from, police officers? But he seems like a good guy.
Did y'all even track any of this stuff? Like, how long was the stuff in her system? You can tell all of that from the autopsy now. How long these drugs have been in her system and everything.
They gave it time with him, though. He just continued to live his life. And the fact that these details are continuing to come out for me, because when the details came out, it was very minute. We didn't have much on this story except for a young black girl's face, her coming from a date on Bumble with an older white man who they did not reveal his face, his pictures, nothing about him, his name, nothing. All they said was she was found dead in her apartment, and the police officer said the man reported her dead that morning, and he seemed like a good guy. That was all the information that we had for a while, until her autopsy came out and showed those drugs were in her system. Now they're dropping his picture. Now they're dropping his name. And the family has now had to say there was negligence with the police officers because they just went off of that.